Hi everyone, it's Justin here, Voices for Voices. Thank you so much for joining us on this show, whether you're watching, listening here in the United States or abroad. Thank you so much. If you can help us out, follow us on our social media accounts. If you're able to reach out and let everybody know in the contacts of your phone, maybe 25, 50, 100 contacts in your phone. Let them know about the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. We greatly appreciate that. And again, thanks for making us a uh, primary source of genuine human events, being a human, going through the hard times, going through the less hard times. Today we're going to talk uh, a little bit about mental health, like we usually do. This is a little bit of a different angle um, than we looked at before. So one of the things that can happen, uh, having a mental illness or another another challenge is the amount uh, of a prescription that your doctor or my doctor has written uh, to take to use for a myriad of reasons. So we talk about the mental health side. Why? I'm going to get into that right now. So I've talked about how I have certain medications that I have been prescribed by my provider, psychiatrist, and with it comes cutoffs, right? So what do I mean by cutoff? I mean that some prescriptions you're able to get like a 90-day supply, which is nice, right? And then others you're only able to get a 30-day supply, and those are for different reasons, controlled substances um, and the like. So I was running low on one of my prescriptions, and so I reached out to uh, my prescriber. That what they do is you call in, or sometimes on the app, you're able to, request a refill. And so I was having trouble logging into the app. So that's for another day. So I needed a new password. So not really surprising. So we we, we I was getting low on this one particular medication. And so I called in to the office like I usually do, if I don't do the app. So this time, like I said, I was having trouble working the app. So I called in to the office to request a refill. I got a call back, and the members at the office said, Justin, um, your medication was last filled on this particular date, and it was for 90 days. So you should still have quite a bit left. And so I started thinking, oh, okay. They said they called the pharmacy, and so I hung up, uh, and I looked, and yep, right there was the date that the pharmacy had mentioned. to the office. The office relayed that information to me. And so how does this all affect mental health? Well, number one, for us that have to take medication, it's not a fun thing to do. I don't know anybody that looks forward to taking any kind of prescription medication. And and so I was like, oh my gosh, the pharmacy is saying this, the office is saying this. So I'm looking all over. I'm looking all over. Uh, and I couldn't find it. And I looked at the size of the container, the bottle, and then I looked at I had 1 day left of this medication by this point. And I was like, I don't think 90 would have even fit in this particular bottle. Uh, so I just started, questioning myself. And of course, my mental health goes straight to anxiety, stress, and the like. So going through the coping mechanisms uh, and luckily I had a an appointment with my psychiatrist that was coming up, and it was on like the last day of this medication that I was going to be taking. So think of it as you have enough for today, but you don't have enough for tomorrow. And then this is a ongoing prescription. So just think of it like that, because that's what it is. And so I was just beside myself because I'm like, th this isn't like, oh, I'm missing a day. This was, oh, I'm missing almost 30 days supply. So it says it was for 90. I don't see the additional 30. I have one left. And luckily, this is why I try to tell people, no matter who you are, where you're from, where you live, we're all human beings. We put on our clothes the same way for the most part. Um, if somebody has a prosthetic or the like, they're still doing it. Uh, just just a little bit different. That's why I said it like that because I'm trying to respect everybody, uh, and not point any fingers at anybody, uh, or me by by that account as well. And so I have this appointment. My anxiety and stress is kind of peaking, and so luckily my psychiatrist was able to fix what was a problem. And so I tell people, getting back to about a minute ago when I said that. So coming back into this part about what I try to share with people, I think everybody needs a therapist. Um, and I get a lot out of it. A lot of people do, and it's still stigmatized to an extent. And the people that do the stigmatizing, I know it's hard to do, but we've got to ignore them and we've got to rise up and say, okay, there's people over here or wherever, and they want to make fun of people or whatever their deal is. I'm looking at it from a health and humanity perspective that it helps me, it helps others. And what would be the worst thing that would happen if you talk to a therapist or counselor, whatever name, that you want to give them? What's the worst that happens? You talk with them and you don't click, so you look and find a different counselor. I mean, that's it. I mean, you get to make the call, the counselor gets to make the call. Is this going to be a good fit or is it not? And maybe you go to two or three or five sessions until you figure that out. But nonetheless, if it's not working for you, not working for the counselor, if you're just straight up honest about it, they'll help you find, or they'll at least give you some ideas of who you can reach out to to try and see if the other individual is a little bit more, uh, whether it's more understanding, they let you share more, that they don't pry and probe, because there's all kinds. Some give homework, some don't. What do I mean by homework? Well, so you would have a session, you would talk about certain areas, and then there would be different exercises that you might have to do, like, write about a positive event that happened between sessions. Write down a not so good or not so positive event that happened. And then you would come back to your session the next time and you would talk about it and you would share that with them. Me personally, everybody's different. Um, I I opt for I opt for, let's see, whatever the day brings, I guess is the best way to say it. Sometimes it's like I need something so I can bring back the next time. And always bring notes. Always write things down. That's one thing that I've learned. I've gotten better at, sometimes not. But it's because I've been doing the whole mental challenge um, from 2017 on. And so I kind of have an idea of what I want to share, how I want to share it. But there's times where I do. I bring notes, right? It could be just, a bullet point, or we can just put one, two, three, and then and put three different events or circumstances, maybe that were hard, exceptionally hard, or this went well for me. And I think that's when you're getting the most out of a session because what I've learned is when you're with a counselor, therapist, whatever how we want to, um, kind of designate them as, if we don't write anything down, especially at the beginning, like if it's brand new to you and it's like, well, what do I even talk about? Well, what's hard? What situation, what event or events have happened that have been incredibly tough, or certain areas where you really thrive and do very well. And because what I learned is time goes fast, right? So you could have an appointment at, let's say, 10 a.m. And let's say that you didn't write anything down and you're, you're really nervous about the session and just worried. That's how I started. I was like, I want to share anything personal. Uh, and then you kind of figure out like, what do what am I striving for? And as I've mentioned so many times before, there's not one of us that's a perfect human being. So we all have flaws. And so there's going to be situations, even situations that have happened 100, 200 times in a row, and everything could be fine for those. And then you get to the next one, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, holy crap. This is really driving my anxiety up. It's like I've done everything that I've learned, but it's not working. And so when we write those things down, depending on how often you would see a therapist, counselor, everybody has different cadences, which means how often. See, once a week, twice a week, once a month, twice a month. And so if something's happening like right now and it's getting to you, bothering you, it's driving that anxiety up, and your appointment's not for 2 weeks. Well, a lot's going to happen in 2 weeks. So I'd like to write that down because I'm probably going to forget it come that 2 week period. And this happened at the kind of beginning of my journey. Is then after the session's over, it's like, oh, Justin, you missed this. You didn't bring this up. And it was because I just didn't write things down at certain times. So it's kind of like a little bit of, not that you're staring at each other, but kind of like, who's going to talk first? Who's going to share? And at some given point, yours or my counselor, therapist, will break the ice, and usually, how's it going? How are things? Kind of these open-ended questions. For me now, it's like when I hear that, it's like, all right, ready, set, go. because I have a usually have a pretty good idea of what I want to talk and share about. But then there's times where I'm like, oh, I need to write that down. I'm gonna forget this because what may be big in the moment may pass. And let's say if you're meeting your counselor in 2 weeks, it's probably gonna be a lot of other things, a lot of other events that are gonna happen in that 2 week period. So the best thing, and I thought it was not silly, but I remember, seeing, and still to this day, uh, my mom, she'd always say, write that down, write these down. And she's great for a lot of reasons. And one of them is she just makes lists, a list for this, a list for that. And then when the time comes, she's like, oh, okay, this is this particular list. And so uh, I need to, pull this one out of the pile and put it right in front of me so I know what I need to do. So make a list. I used to think it was silly, like I can remember everything. Well, the older I get, it's probably a little bit less than that. And so if there's something, again, something major that you want to make sure to, right? Because that's your time. That's your time set aside to talk to your therapist, your psychiatrist, or your general doctor, or your orthopedic doctor. Because if you don't ask, they're going to move right on to the next patient. And it's not that, at least in my opinion, it's not that they don't care. They just can't read your mind or my mind. That's the deal. I can't read anybody's mind. I can't. So if I was a therapist and one of my patients came to me and it's one of those just, it's really quiet, I'll start asking questions or just have conversation. And for me, that's what it is. It's having a conversation about, well, here's what's happened since the last time I've been in. And then we work and talk through it. Some of it I remember in my head, some of it I have to write down. I'm like, oh, I need to remember because there's what seems like a million other things that are gonna happen between now and that session. So talk to the therapist, talk to the counselor. If you have a psychiatrist, talk to them. Let them know how you're feeling, especially if they're prescribing you medication. It's hard. I get it because it's happened to me. And the doctor says, let me know as soon as, if, you're having one of the side effects or something. And I'm like, who actually calls in? But here's the deal. If you don't call in, then the doctor's not going to know. If you don't share with the therapist isn't going to know because the therapist can't read your mind either. So you just have to be for yourself, for your family, do the best that you can, which is oftentimes very hard to do. But I will say, the more you stick with it, I think this is my this is my opinion. I think you'll be better off in the long run. Listen, everybody's got stuff that going on. Everybody's got things that it may look from the outside like, man, they they don't get anxious or nervous or whatever term you want to add in. And again, it goes back to the how how does how do I look? Do I look okay? Do I look like I'm sleepy? I'm tired? How do I look? And it really comes down to when you see a counselor, a therapist, that it really it really just helps out immensely when you see somebody, whether it's in person or whether it's virtual. So take a look at it. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. But I would be doing a disservice if I was not talking about this particular topic. And so I went from, the medication situation. Like if I wouldn't have brought it up to my psychiatrist, I would be running, I would have already ran out of my prescription and I would be having different effects that wouldn't probably be very good. Because right, if you're going to taper off, there's going to be a schedule like, okay, maybe you take the full amount for a week. The second week you take half of the amount, and then a third week, every other day, you take half of the amount. And so that I wouldn't have been able to do that because I had one left and it couldn't be divided that many times. So speak up, stand up, be a voice for you or somebody else in need. And let's celebrate all those voices all across the world, not just ours, but others all across the world. Thank you for tuning in. Again, follow us on our social media, reach out to 25, 50, 100 contacts in your phone. Let them know about the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. Give us a thumbs up, like, follow, subscribe, share, repost. And if it so moves you, we are Voices for Voices, and we are a 501(c)(3) nonprofit charity. All donations and all books that are purchased, those proceeds go 100% to uh, to be tax deductible for you on your taxes here in the United States. If you don't live in the United States, just check with your tax preparer and they will let you know. But usually there's some good tax benefits to donate to charity. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next show of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. And this has been Justin Allen Hayes. Take care, everybody. Sending love and support to you. Bye bye for now.